Hey everybody, it's Mama Bear at Mama Bear's Diner. So today I'm a little more prepared, I think, than I've ever been in any of my other videos. And it never occurred to me that maybe I should get set up like some of the other YouTubers, but I think it's actually a good idea. It'll save us some time on me crashing around the kitchen and just doing things that everybody has to do to get set up. So, tonight I'm going to make some smothered pork chops and serve them over rice. So I've already got my rice. I made it earlier in an Instant Pot. It's just a white jasmine rice. And then we're going to add some mushroom soup over it and let it cook. Also, I wanted to show you what I do in my kitchen for a flour batter. Now this flour batter can be used on so many things. You can batter a chicken fried steak, you can batter the pork or chicken fingers or anything that you need a good flour batter for. So what I've been doing, and I've just started doing this within probably the last year of my kitchen life, I go ahead and season my flour up really good, and then I only take out what I can use. So I will just take a small amount out and use it, and I don't contaminate my whole bag. And then every time I need flour, I don't have to go through all the trouble of seasoning it like my mom used to, and then she wasted a lot. She'd throw the rest away, especially if it had animal drippings or something on it, you know. So we're going to do that, and the reason I'm doing that is because I need it for my pork. The other thing I want to do is make a quick peach cobbler. And I thought if I timed it out just right, I can put the peach cobbler and let it cook as I'm cooking the pork chops and gravy. So I want to get started on that. I'm also going to have a salad that's already prepared. So we're going to have smothered pork chops over rice with a salad and cobbler for dessert. And I don't always do a cobbler. I don't always do a dessert, but we love cobbler. And it sounded really good today. So I've got everything set up, and I think we should just get into it and get started. Now, everything I'm going to measure is already measured out. As far as my seasonings that we're going to do in this bag, I think I'm just going to play it by ear. So I've done this so many times that I don't even think about, measuring. But for those of you who haven't done this a million times, maybe you're just starting out in your kitchen, I'm going to get my measuring spoons out, and we're going to just figure out about how much I would put in, okay? So first of all, for this amount of flour, I've got 2 cups of flour in here approximately. I'm going to start with a tablespoon of salt. And here I have sea salt that's acting up, that doesn't want to come out. Okay, so I've got sea salt, about a tablespoon. I wouldn't want to go any more than that because I also have a husband that's low sodium, so I don't want my stuff extremely salty. You might, but okay, that's a good start. So next on the list, I've got onion powder. And I'm going to do the same, about a tablespoon of onion powder. Okay. And we have garlic powder. I'm going to do the same. So all my seasonings here are great value. I'm not getting paid to promote them. They're a good price. So I like the brand. I use it often. It's usually just as good as anything else. All right, here we've got meat tenderizer. This also has salt in it. So that's why I only wanted to start with a tablespoon of salt to begin with, because this has salt. All right, so we've got smoked paprika. I'm also going to do a tablespoon of that. And I don't know if you know, but I recently found out that smoked paprika is like dehydrated red bell pepper or something. Never knew. Alright, so I also have white pepper. Now, I'm not going to do a whole tablespoon because white pepper is kind of sneaky. It can be kind of spicy. So I'm going to do about a half of that tablespoon of white pepper. Now, excuse me. I don't have any ground black pepper, so I'm going to grind quite a bit of this in here. Let's just say it's a tablespoon's worth. So I'm going to grind that until I feel like I have about a tablespoon. And of course we're out of pepper. Alright. So I want to add some pepper in here. You know, I really thought I was prepared. And then here I am. I'll just have to do that later. I have another grinder. I will just grind some of this up in here. And then I'm going to shut the bag and just shake it. And then to get a feel of what it tastes like, I actually stick my finger in there. I like maybe lick your finger a little bit and just taste what the flour tastes like. Does it have a good flavor? Because if it doesn't, the food you cook in it is not going to have a good flavor. It won't have enough, you know, seasoning. So just leave a little air in your bag and just shake it up really good. And then you have a super wonderful seasoning mix for anything that you need to coat with flour. And also, if you're going to make a gravy and you have a little of flour left in your bowl, use that. If you need more, dig in here and get a little bit more. Works so good. And this lasts and lasts. I always try to put a label on this and say what it is. And that way, if maybe your mother-in-law or somebody's there cooking for you or with you, they'll know what's in the bag also. So that's just some good advice. Always label your stuff. And a date. So now, we've got our flour seasoned, ready to go. Alright, I have some pork chops. They're thick cut. I'm going to put some buttermilk on them. Or maybe some half and half. Put a little bit of half and half on them. And just get them kind of wet. Just need them a little bit wet so that the flour will stick. You can use water, you can use milk, just whatever your preference is. Another thing I like to do when I'm cooking is I'll have some kind of bowl or container and I'll use that as my trash bowl. And then when I'm done with everything, I'll take it, empty it, and deal with it. That way I'm not constantly running back and forth to the trash. So even when I'm not making a video, that's a good practice in the kitchen. Especially if you have a small kitchen or you have more than one person running around in the kitchen. So I've already got my oven at 350. I'm going to turn this grease on here. I'm wondering, I just had a thought. I've only got 2 small pork chops and I've got a large 10-inch cast iron skillet. I may want to downsize. Alright, so I'm going to use a smaller skillet. One thing we love around here, and that is our cast iron skillets. So, we're going to turn that heat on. I have peanut oil in here. I know some people don't like it, some people do. I prefer it for frying in over some of the other things you can use. I just like the flavor and I like the cleanness. And I like that you can reuse the oil, strain it and reuse it many, many times before it starts getting bad. So, alright, I have my pork chops in here, in the cream. Here's an empty bowl, and I'm going to put some of my seasoned flour in here. excuse me, just to give them a little breading. So that way, excuse me, that way when we do this, I think that might be too much for 2. When we do this, we're not contaminating this whole batch of flour. And I'll keep it right here, just in case I need some more. So, we've got our little bit of flour. You can also do this on a paper plate. That way you don't have to mess with any of the cross-contamination in the kitchen. I like to be super careful when I'm using meat and things because I don't want it all over my kitchen. So, okay, we've got our oil getting hot. Going to get these battered up. And then I'm going to pop them in the oven and work on the cobbler. Now, I think these are going to take about an hour, probably, to get them nice and flavorful. So, put that in there. I want to give it a little head start on the cooking. I know this seems like a big mess for 2 little pork chops, but it's all I had. And so, since we're trying to travel, we're trying to go RVing, I've been trying to use things out of my freezer. And also, if I have a leftover, I'm trying to make it last for the travel. That way I'll have some meals prepped and prepared for travel. So that's what I'm up to. Alright, so I'm taking a can of Campbell's mushroom soup. You can get any brand you want of mushroom soup. You can get a chicken soup or whatever it is that you like. I just like mushroom soup. I every once in a while will buy cheap brands, but I do think that the Campbell's is a little bit better. That's just my personal opinion. So I'm going to scrape the can out. And guess I wasn't as prepared as I thought. So I'm going to scrape the can out, add some milk. I'm not going to add a whole can like it recommends to do as if I was making soup. I did like maybe a little over half. So I'm going to add that. And I remembered I have some fresh garlic that I did yesterday. So I want to get some of my fresh garlic and I'll add it in with my pork chops. And it will make things so good. Just mix this up a little bit. So I'll put the garlic in nearer to the end because if you have ever messed around with garlic, putting it in oil, it will cook pretty quick. And it can start to burn. So for the flavor that I want out of it, I think I'm going to add it like after I'm almost done cooking the pork chops. So now that we've got this ready, we are going to move right along to the cobbler. So what I have here is a butter slicer. I hope that you can see it. And I have a stick of butter. So a lot of people cut their butter up, and this gives you a perfect slice. The whole stick can be sliced to perfection, and they're all the same size. I think that's so cool, especially if you need it on a roll or something like that. So this is calling for, I believe, a couple tablespoons of butter already softened. I'm going to put it in here and melt it, and then the rest of the butter I'm going to put in my butter dish. But it'll be manageable because it's in sticks. So, alright, I am making a mess, but that's not unusual. I am a messy cook, but I do clean my mess up. So, and I always start with a clean kitchen. I cannot stand a dirty kitchen. That's one of my biggest pet peeves in the whole world. And I always clean as I go. So, if you just clean as you go, you never have a horrible kitchen that's filthy and unmanageable. So, that's one good tip there. Alright, so I'm going to start with a casserole dish. It is probably an 8 by, well, I don't know, 9 by 13. So, I've got my butter softened. I've got 2 1/3 cups of baking mix. You can use any baking mix. I've got a 1/3 cup of milk. I've got a couple tablespoons of butter, a couple tablespoons of sugar, and I've got cinnamon. I already opened my peaches, so I've got 2 cans of peaches. If you're making cobbler, don't drain your peaches. Don't drain your fruit. You need the fruit juice to help cook that good, chewy, yummy crust. So, this is just peaches. They're yellow, clean peaches. I'm going to pour them in there. Fresh is always better, okay? I'm going to tell you that right now, but we don't have fresh. They're in the cabinet taking up room. Like I said, I'm leaving, so I'm trying to clear things out and use what I have. So I'm just going to use canned peaches. Most restaurants do. So, here we go. I am going to incorporate this butter, milk and sugar, and cinnamon in this dough, in the mix. It will become kind of a thick dough. And we're simply going to add it on the top. Okay, I've got sugar here. Okay, and I've got my pork chops cooking behind me, and they sure are making a lot of noise, so I've got to stop and check those. Alright, they're looking really good. They're at the stage that I want. Well, I'm going to add this garlic. Already getting that caramely color. It's so fragrant. It's so flavorful. But it burns quick, especially if you've got it minced. And that's what I did yesterday, is mince it up. And I do have that. Now, I don't have it on a video. I made it and then I realized, you know what, that would have been a good video. But I didn't use it. Alright, so what I want to do is drain this oil. And I got a really fancy drainer. Where did it go? You ever lose stuff in your drawers? I got a really neat little strainer. And now I can't find it. I might just have to be tempted to use another pan. The reason I'm trying to do this is I don't want all the oil in my pan, in my soup, in my gravy. I just don't know where that is. So, I guess I'll use this. It's got little holes in it. It's got little tiny holes in it. So I'm going to put this on top of my jar and drain this grease back into the peanut jar. Then I can use my already hot pan and pop that into the oven. Then I can take the garlic and use it in my sauce. See, that's perfect. Exactly what I needed. So put the garlic on there. All right. Okay. Well, I've got a little bit of oil on my cabinet. I'm going to take some of my homemade orange spray. I used a Homestead Tessie's orange spray recipe, orange cleaner, and I took my orange pills, put them in vinegar, and I've let them sit. And yesterday I made me a bottle of homemade cleaner with that orange vinegar, and oh my goodness, let me tell you, it smells so good. It works so good, and I love it. So if you don't know who Homestead Tessie is, or you don't know about her, she is Homestead Tessie. She's got a homestead and a mobile home on an acre of land in Pennsylvania, and she is so fun to watch. I like to watch her in the evenings, and you can really learn some good tips from her. Good little tips and tricks, especially about a mobile home. And I've lived in several mobile homes, so I could definitely relate. I can absolutely relate. Okay, so I think I'm going to sprinkle my peaches with cinnamon. I was going to put it in this. It's thickening up a little more than I would have actually thought. So I'm thinking about adding a little bit of milk in there. I'm also going to add just a smidge of sugar because these are clean peaches with no sugar added. So I'm just going to sprinkle the cinnamon and sugar on top before I put the batter on, and I think that'll help. So, just gonna see if I can kind of get this a little softer. Maybe I left it too long, I don't know. See, that's a little crazy, but you can also use a cake mix on top of a cobbler. Just add the liquid and the butter like you would and put your batter on the top of your fruit. It makes an excellent cobbler. I thought about using one, but I only have one yellow cake mix. You can use yellow or white. Yellow's probably better. But I decided that I would leave the cake mix for cake, and I would just do a batter with baking mix. This is like a baking mix that you can make biscuits or pancakes or waffles or, things like that. You just get it on the top and kind of spread it out. It will spread out on its own a little. I mean, you don't want to put one blob in the middle. So try to spread it out, but it will on its own kind of spread out further. Kind of swells. Okay. Beautiful. So now I'm going to pop it in. This could take well over an hour because things are so juicy. The longer it cooks, really the better your flavor and the chewier and more wonderful your crust will be. So if you don't like chewy crust, don't cook it that long. I'm going to put it in the timer, starting for an hour. I'm leaving it uncovered. And I just want to turn my timer on for 60 minutes. Now, I don't know about you, but I have to have a timer. If I don't, some stuff may burn. Alright. So, now that we've got our pork chops cooked, I've got my gravy mix. And you know what I think I'm going to do? And this is so good. You can add this on a roast, or I've got to dig around in the cabinet. I'm sorry. I thought I was prepared. I am a little. Okay, so this is onion Lipton soup mix. No, I'm not getting paid to advertise this, but this right here is such a good kitchen secret. It is so flavorful. Actually, I'll tell you a secret. I've never made it into soup, but I have used this in my gravy. So you take your onion soup mix, you add it with your milk and your mushroom soup. We'll just give it a little stir. And let me tell you, it is amazing. We'll just use something else. So I'm just gonna stir it in. I knew I had a spoon. It's at the bottom of my dish. See? This kind of stuff just happens in the real world, okay? So, there you go. If you were wondering what happened to my spoon, there it is. I didn't even realize it was missing. So I'm just gonna stir this onion soup mix into my mushroom soup. So, we're gonna incorporate it really good. I'm gonna pour it over the pork chops. I am going to cover the pork. Well, I didn't cover the cobbler, but I will cover the pork. So I'm going to be serving this with rice, but I don't want my rice in there cooking with this because it will get too squishy. So rice is really kind of tricky to work with. And if you know, you know. So what I'm going to do is, oh, that's too small. I knew it. I'm just going to put it in with a lid. You know, I don't know why I'm having such a hard time with this. I'm just going to put it in with the lid. The cobbler can cook at the same time. I don't like the way this lid fits either. Okay, so that leaves me no choice. I'll use my cast iron lid for a cast iron pan that actually fits. Alright, just makes it twice as heavy. So here we go. We've got our pork in, we've got our cobbler in. So, you've seen me put the pork in this pan and then go back to the hot pan. I wanted to tell you, that doesn't make this pan dirty. You do not have to wash it out or anything else. What I'm going to do is add some heat. I usually keep my paper towels in here with the grease several times before I throw them away, and they get good and seasoned. So this is just, you know, black off your cast iron skillet. So I'm going to take this, heat it up, I'm going to wipe it out and re-season it, and then it'll be good for next time. Okay, so I just wanted you to know, you don't, like, if there was any germs in here from the pork chops, the fire will kill it. There's no sense in washing it because you want it seasoned anyway. All that's in here really is a couple pieces of that garlic I sauteed and a little bit of the oil. So we're just gonna wipe it around, get the garlic out, and it's as good as new. So that's simply all we're doing. And it's beautiful again, and it's seasoned again. And the more you cook in a cast iron skillet, the more seasoned it'll be. So when you take it and you put it in the sink and you wash it with dish soap, that's taking all your season and your flavor off. So you really shouldn't. I mean, it's not gonna hurt it, like it's not gonna make it where you can't use it anymore. But it's not good to wash your cast iron with soap. Hot water and a scrubby pad should do the trick. Dry it, and then take a paper towel with a little bit of oil while it's on the burner getting hot and season it. That's all you have to do. This pan has been used literally thousands of times. This pan is well loved, and they're so easy to care for if you know how to do it. You know, I know somebody in their 60s that didn't do a lot of cooking, that really didn't even know how to season cast iron. And you know, if my mom wouldn't have taught me, I wouldn't know. So if you didn't know or you don't know, now you know. All you need to do is wash the pan, get your oil on a paper towel while it's on the burner, wipe the water out with a towel if there's water. If there's not, just start getting it hot, let it get good and hot, and then just wipe that grease around. That's all you have to do. It's so easy. So, now, later, after that pork's cooked about an hour, I'll add my rice. I'll get it warm probably in the microwave a little bit, but I didn't want it getting smushy or gooey. So I'm going to put it in a microwave safe bowl, and we will have the gravy and pork chop over that rice, and I think it's going to be so good. So along with the salad and then our cobbler for dessert. Sounds yummy. So I think I'm going to stop the video. Oh, I've got a fly in here bothering me. I cannot believe it's winter time and they're still. Our flies never died here this year. They've just never died. It's so horrible. Anyway, I'm going to stop the video and I will plate this up and take a picture, and I'll just show you a picture of when it's done. So be on the lookout for that. It's been wonderful. It's been such a joy to invite you in my home and show you the things that I do and the way that I do it. Because, you know, as a new cook or a cook starting out, there is just sometimes the only way you can learn is just doing it. And I wanted to show you right quick before I go. My daughter loves my cooking. What a compliment. And what an honor it is that she asked me for my recipes. I'm so glad. My kids, I have 2 kids, they've never been picky eaters, thank the Lord. And she asked me for my recipes. So I got this on Amazon for about $10. And it says, "To my daughter, with love from my kitchen." And I've just penciled in, by hand, recipes from my kitchen. And I gave it to her for Christmas. So that was one of her Christmas presents. Literally, when I gave this to her, she's 15. She started crying. She knew that this was the most heartfelt gift you could get from me. For me to sit down and put my kitchen creativity onto paper for her to have and cherish as long as she can keep the book safe. That's a gift, that's a treasure, and it's something that we all wish our mothers and grandmothers would do. And sometimes we get the chance and sometimes we don't, but thankfully for my girl, I got the chance. So on that ending note, I'm going to stop the video, and I hope you guys keep watching. I've never asked you to like and subscribe, but would you please like and subscribe? And you know, on this journey, I will try to make sure that it's always interesting and you always learn something. You're not going to waste your time with me. We'll always learn something, and you're never too old to learn.